Welcome to Off the Rails, a bear fact video that will take you outside the regular trails. Most of you who've watched my channel are very familiar with my format. I give basic facts about places you'll see in the Smoky Mountains. But once in a while, I'll move away from these green pastures and show you something a little different. Today, I'm going to take you to Florida to a well-known resort called Swan and Dolphin. Now, the Swan and Dolphin is one of those iconic images you can see from miles away from the Disney bubble. With the towering 56-foot dolphins and 47-foot swans, these 60,000-pound sculptures are impressive to see. And for many years, that's all I did, was look at them from afar. But this year we finally got the chance to stay at the resort, and this video is going to tell you about our stay, talk about what we learned about the resort, and give you some hacks to make your stay here as cheap and fun as possible. First off, if you aren't familiar with the Swan and Dolphin, I'm going to give you some very few basic facts and tell you about them. The Swan and Dolphin is a resort made up of 3 separate buildings all owned by Marriott, but are all completely separate businesses. The Swan is a Westin company, Dolphin is a Sheraton, and the Swan Reserve is part of the Autograph Collection hotels. Yeah, that last one is a weird one. Never heard of them before and don't have much to say about them, like the resort itself. There's nothing wrong with them. I'm just not very familiar with the company or even the Swan Reserve itself. During this video, I'll talk a little about them, but we stayed at the Swan and Dolphin, and that's where we have the most information to share. So if you do plan on staying at the Swan Reserve, there will be some information in this video, but not a ton. Sorry. If you've looked into staying in the Disney area, you already know that you have a lot of choices to pick from in resorts. So why did we choose this one, and what made it unique? Well, let's start with why. We wanted to stay at this resort and then talk about what they had to offer, how this resort stacks up to the neighboring Disney resorts, and why you might choose this building over another. Let's start with a basic fact. We have spent a lot of time in Disney, but not enough to blog about it. Though I have some impressive knowledge about the vacation destination, we don't live there, don't own property there, or have any invested interest in the business. I just like going once a year. Disney is an ever-changing, evolving entity that needs more attention than I'm willing or able to give. So don't expect many videos on Disney from my channel. I'll leave that to the experts. The only reason I'm making a video about this particular resort is that Swan and Dolphin often gets left behind. When doing our research, I couldn't find as many videos on them, and what information we found was, well, blogged. So I decided to put out a hopefully informative video that will help you when planning your stay. And though I will try and avoid any opinions or judgments, it's going to happen at least a little. Sorry. Let's start with why we like the Swan and Dolphin. One of the top reasons, at least to me, is that it's really close to 2 of the Disney parks, Epcot and Hollywood Studios. If you aren't planning on visiting these parks or are going to spend more time going to Universal Studios, you really should be looking for another resort. Swan and Dolphin doesn't offer free shuttle service to anything outside the Disney bubble, and you would be spending a lot of money and time in Ubers. But if Disney is your thing, then this is the place to try and get into. Swan and Dolphin is so close to these parks that you can actually walk to them. If you've ever suffered through the misery of the bus, boat, monorail, or gondola shuffle as the parks close, you might appreciate the ability to just walk back to the hotel and not fight the crowds to get back to your room. Though, I have to say, after walking the parks all day, most people still choose to jam into the air-conditioned transportation over walking the mile back to your room. No judging, we were packed in with the rest of them. The second best part about Swan and Dolphin is that they are considered a deluxe hotel. Once again, if you're not going to Disney, this won't mean much to you. But if you are visiting Disney, then you might appreciate this amenity. Being a deluxe hotel guest means you get early theme park entry every day of the week, and you also get to enjoy the extended evening hour privileges that deluxe Disney resort guests have on select nights. Of course, you have to have tickets to the theme park in question for those days. And it's not every day of the week, so you have to just go on the website and look. Those two perks are some of the best reasons to stay at the Swan and Dolphin, but there are many other things that the resort has to offer besides being close to the parks and being a deluxe resort. Here are other reasons that people choose the Swan and Dolphin. 1. The location. Yes, I've already touched on the fact that they are close to Epcot and Hollywood, but they're also close to the Boardwalk. The Boardwalk is a Disney district with 3 other Disney-operated resorts, the Boardwalk and the Yacht and Beach Club, which are 3 separate places, but unless you're staying at them, no one else really knows what or how they're different. The Boardwalk wraps around a small lake that has a name, I'm sure, and you can walk around the entire lake and either enjoy the water views, stomp through the small sand beach. Sorry, no swimming. Disney is always keeping guests away from the locals, i.e. alligators, and block all water shore access. And there are lots and lots of places to eat, drink, and drink some more. In fact, 2 of our favorite places to eat in Disney are on the Boardwalk: Beaches and Cream, Ice Cream Parlor, and Cape May. But there are tons of other places on the Boardwalk to eat as well, though you will discover that Swan and Dolphin have almost as many places to dine as the entire Boardwalk with 3 Disney Deluxe hotels. That should tell you how big the Swan and Dolphin is. As I mentioned earlier, the Swan and Dolphin is close enough to walk to either Epcot or Hollywood Studios. To get to Epcot, you have to cross over to the Disney Boardwalk and take a right. Make sure you pass in front of the Disney Boardwalk Resort. Otherwise, you're probably heading the wrong way. Epcot is about 0.7 miles from the Swan and Dolphin. Hollywood is a good 1.2 mile walk. To get to Hollywood, you have to head towards the boardwalk, but this time you want to take a sharp right and head down the path behind Disney Boardwalk Resort. This is a much longer walk, but if you're happy with walking and don't like the boats, this is a great alternative. Now, if walking isn't your thing, there is a ferry that takes you to both parks. You will pick up the ferry off the walkway that separates the Swan and Dolphin hotels. Just make sure you ask the captain which direction you're heading, or you might end up at the wrong park. You will hear this from many people who vlog about Disney. Time is money, especially in Disney. So you don't want to make that mistake. The second reason that Swan and Dolphin is worth staying at is it has an extensive property with many amenities. Now, keep in mind that these amenities are shared by guests staying at any one of the 3 Swan and Dolphin resorts. And no matter what you say or how loud you argue, you will still have to pay the resort fees for these amenities, so you might as well use them. Let's start with bars and pools. Each of the hotels has their own pool and hot tub, as well as a bar next to each pool. One nice thing about having a bar at each location is that you can get a drink anytime you want one, when they're open, of course. Each of the hotels also have many lounge chairs with VR codes you can scan and order food and drink from. The hotel staff will bring your order to the chair you ordered from. Though it wasn't a service we used, it seemed kind of cool. All the pools also have cabanas you can rent for the day. I never looked into pricing, but if you're having a big get-together, I guess this could be nice to have. An important thing to note is that the pools have set hours and they have limited staff that monitor the pool areas, including the slide. I don't want to say lifeguards since they're not really lifeguards, just people who woman the bars, watch the slide entrance when it's open, and give out towels. Unlike a Disney resort, Marriott doesn't have people who are there to watch the guests or are trained lifeguards. The guy watching the slide entrance was on his phone half the time and was really there just to make sure the kiddos didn't go down the slide 3 at a time. And the slide had different hours than the rest of the pools. Also, you will be able to get towels at the pool anytime they're open, so you won't need to bring your own. Before I continue about the pools, I want to talk a little about the layout of the 3 buildings that make up the Swan and Dolphin Resort. First is that the Swan and Dolphin buildings are connected by a long walkway that is partially covered by a 2-sided cover section. If you plan on using amenities between these buildings, this is going to be the main route you'll take. However, there is another connecting walkway between the hotels in the back. This walkway connects the pools for the Swan and Dolphin and is also where you can get to the reserve. But unlike the Swan and Dolphin, the reserve isn't on the same side of the road. You actually have to cross the road to get to the reserve, though there is a crosswalk and light. One good thing about all three hotels is that they have their own pools, and you can go to any one of them if you're a guest. So if you are a reserve guest, you have a pool at your resort instead of having to trek across the road. Or you can visit the other two hotel pools as well. And this goes for the Swan and Dolphin. The reserve has a small pool, hot tub, and bar, the Tangerine, on the second level. Though it's really the third or fourth level, but the escalator from the front lobby takes you directly there, so that's why I'm going to call it the second level. Because the reserve is one of the newest buildings added to the resort, the pool and chairs are also nicer and look a little bit more modern. It's a little inconvenient for guests who are staying here to share the amenities with the other hotels. I'm not sure why they didn't add a bridge or something to make traveling safer between the resorts, but this is the main reason we never considered staying at the reserve. The Swan also has their own pool, and the pool here is located outside the building on the side between the Swan and Dolphin walkway. We enjoyed this pool because it has less traffic. It's a smaller pool and many guests don't know it's there, which is great if you want a little more quiet. The pool at the Swan and Dolphin also has a bar called the Splash Pool Bar and Grill and their own hot tub as well. Of the three hotels, the Dolphin has the biggest pool. The Dolphin's pool has a big waterfall and a slide for the kiddos to enjoy. This giant pool is shaped like an hourglass with a walking bridge that you can take from one side to the other. There's a bathroom under the waterfalls, and there's also bathrooms in the gym, which is a little farther away, which we'll talk about in a minute. The Dolphin technically has 3 pools. There are 2 other pools that are separate from the main one, but they're all in the same area, so it's hard to differentiate. The Dolphin also has 3 hot tubs, lots of chairs to sit at, and, of course, another bar called the Cabana Bar and Beach Club. This pool area also has inflatable tubes and floating things that people can use in the pool. There are signs that say you need a room key to get to the towels, so make sure you bring it just in case someone asks you. All right, let's talk about the gyms. Our last trip to Disney was 8 days, and in that time we clocked in over 60 miles. With all those walking miles, I had no plans on using the gym, but we did look at them. And even though most people have no desire to even think of gyms when they're on vacation, it's good to note that the Swan and Dolphin are also big convention centers, and there are lots of people who stay there who are working. Ugh, I know. But even if you are on vacation or working, the gyms here are fantastic. There are 2 fitness facilities that we found while staying here. The Swan has a full setup and it's right outside the pool area. The Dolphin has a bigger setup and it's also close to their pool as well. I'll be honest and say that the gym facilities there are some of the best I've ever seen in a hotel. In fact, the Dolphin's gym is pretty much on par with the gym I have at home. They have good equipment and are set up for anyone who wants a complete workout. They also have full bathrooms, showers, and towels, and also provide body gels, shampoos, and conditioners at the showers. If you need to get ready to head out right after the shower, there are also hair dryers. If you're exercising during your vacation, you might also want to know that there is a scale, which I did not use, so I can't say how accurate it is. We did not notice a fitness center at the reserve, but since we didn't stay there, I can't say if it had one or not. But the reserve can still use either of the facilities at the Swan or Dolphin. Another fun amenity is the swan-shaped foot paddle boats. They are free for guests to use, but it was so hot during our visit we just didn't have any desire to try them. Let's talk about transportation. This is also considered an amenity. If you plan on going to Disney, you have many ways to get there. As we've already said, you can walk to Epcot and Hollywood Studios, but if walking isn't your thing, you can also take the ferry. They run every 15 minutes from an hour before the parks open to an hour after they close. Just make sure you ask the captain which direction they're going before you hop on the ferry. Also, you will note that there are normally no buses for Epcot or Hollywood, but you can always take a rideshare if boats and walking are not going to work for you. Now, if you're heading to Disney Springs, Magic Kingdom, or Animal Kingdom and don't want to take a rideshare or have your own vehicle, you will need to take the bus. The Reserve has their own bus station, and if you're staying at the Reserve or Dolphin, you'll need to take the transportation from the front of the Dolphin. So, earlier I mentioned I didn't use the bus at the Swan and Dolphin, and the reason is this. We used the Disney transportation at the Yacht and Beach Club. And I'll tell you why. The buses from hotels not owned by Disney, which Swan and Dolphin aren't, either don't take you directly to the front of the park, or they leave you further from the main entrance of the park or place you're going to than Disney resort buses do. It's not a huge inconvenience, but after a super long day in the parks, it was one less hassle we wanted to deal with. When arriving at Magic Kingdom, any resort that isn't Disney owned, which we established Marriott isn't, you will be dumped at the main ticket hub and not at the doors of Magic Kingdom. That means you have to shuffle around and transfer to the monorails, which then take you to the parks. This extra step in your day is one big hassle after a very long, hot day in the parks. Also, when the parks are closing, the lines to the monorails are very long, and you will need to take them to get back to the bus, which is, well, we weren't willing to deal with that. Here's how you can avoid this hassle. Go over to the boardwalk and just take one of the buses from Disney Boardwalk or Yacht and Beach Club. It's that simple. All the Disney resorts have shuttles that will take you directly to the front doors. This little hack is one that the Disney resorts don't want people to know about, since there is a lot of people staying at the Swan and Dolphin, and they don't really want you doing it. But the Disney buses are free to use for anyone from any resort, and they don't ask you where you're staying, just where you're going. So keep this trick in mind. You will save yourself a lot of aggravation, and it's way easier at times. Now, not everyone will find this bus hack convenient. For one thing, you have a further walk to get to the Disney Resort buses than from the Swan and Dolphin buses, especially if you're staying at the Reserve. And on top of that, you have to figure out where the buses terminals are at the Disney resorts and figure out their schedules. But there is another reason we use the Disney bus system. We use the Disney refillable mugs. Now, if you've never stayed at a Disney resort, let me explain how this works. Disney resort guests can purchase a mug that has unlimited free refills from any Disney resort for up to 14 days once activated. There's a little chip at the bottom of each mug that is activated once you buy the mug. The mugs cost about $20, which sounds absurd unless you'd start doing the math. Each drink at the Swan and Dolphin costs over $4. If you enjoy fountain drinks, then this can get very, very, very expensive. And though the fountain at Fuel, a food market at the Swan and Dolphin, has a refillable station, the staff are required to tell you that the drinks are only refillable during your mealtime. So, theoretically, after you leave the Fuel, you will need to pay for your next drink. I'm not sure if they're watching guests that closely, but I'm not a big rule breaker, so I didn't try sneaking back in and getting a refill and see if I was reprimanded. The Swan and Dolphin doesn't have a refillable mug system. At least during our stay, we decided to use the Disney Resort mugs, which anyone from any resort can buy and use at any Disney resort, though not a Disney park. The mugs do not work in the parks, keep that in mind. Now, since we go in and out of Disney resorts throughout our entire stay, we decided that getting the cups would save us money in the long run. Every time we went to a Disney resort, used the buses, passed through their lobbies, or went by a refill station on the boardwalk, we refilled our cups. And though using the mugs like the buses might have worked for us, it might not be convenient or simple for you. It is a lot of walking, and you also have to know where the refill stations are and consider how often you plan on going by a Disney resort. The savings in money just might not work for you. But the system worked for us, and we did save money. There are a few other amenities. Well, there really aren't amenities if you have to pay for them, so we'll call them conveniences. One of these conveniences is a laundry room at the bottom level of the Dolphin. It costs $3 to wash your clothes, and the drying starts around $3 for 30 minutes. We figured out how to use the washing machines once we actually read the directions. I'll be honest, we were a little stumped on how to use the dryers. The directions were a little vague. We just kept hitting buttons and tapping our credit card until it eventually did something. We did like how close the laundry facilities were to the pool. We put our clothes in the washing machine, went swimming. 34 minutes later, we put them in the dryers and went back to the pool and had a drink. They also had an arcade room right next to the laundry room. Convenient, huh? As I mentioned earlier, the Swan and Dolphin has a lot of places to eat and drink at. Did I mention the drinking part yet? In fact, we counted 18 locations that the resort advertises for food and drink, and all of them are pricey. And let's just say that when you complain that Disney food prices are cheaper, you know there's a problem. Anyway, while at the resort, we only ate at 3 different food places: the Fuel in the Dolphin, Java, and Kimonos in the Swan. I have heard excellent things about the other places and that the prices reflect the quality of food. Though there are some places with more basic foods, the restaurants here have a tendency to cater to people with a bigger budget and more refined tastes. For those of you who want simpler fare, you can eat at the Fountain, which has more kid-friendly food such as burgers and ice cream, or Peekaboo's for your grilled chicken. The most impressive place visually is the Garden Grove with the giant full-scale tree in the center. This place is more of a breakfast location, but they advertise the tree as being lit up for night. So maybe they use it for special occasions? We just didn't see it. A simple burger at the Fountain will set you back $20, and that doesn't include the drink. Being so close to the boardwalk, we didn't end up going to the Fountain. Instead, we went to Beaches and Cream on the boardwalk. And though their prices are comparable, we have free refills at the Disney Resort, so that's where we went for our burger, sundae, and grilled cheese fixes. Each of the 3 resorts has something that serves as a coffee house and snack bar, I guess we'll call it that. The Swan has Java, the Reserve has Grounds, and Dolphin has the Fuel. The Fuel offers warm and cold sandwiches, coffees, fountain drinks, alcohol, and other odds and ends. The Fuel also has a large candy selection as well as a frozen yogurt bar. My husband really enjoyed the cupcakes and had more than one. I had the dill grilled cheese sandwich. I really enjoyed it, but for $11, you'd think that you might also get a bag of chips or even fries, but nope, all you get is 2 pieces of bread and some cheese and pickles. But at least they heat it up for you. It was really good, but kind of expensive. Java has many of the same items as Fuel, but is smaller and has less of a selection. We didn't look at the menu for Grounds, but I suspect it's similar to the other 2. The only other place I tried was the Sushi House, Kimonos. I tried the fried shrimp tempura and the Alaskan roll. The 2 rolls cost me about $30 with tip. I enjoyed both of them, but for that price, I was happy my husband got another cupcake for his dinner. He doesn't like sushi, but really did like that cupcake. The restaurant has a really nice ambiance, and you can sit and eat here, or like me, order and take it back to your room. All 3 hotels share all the same amenities and are all one big happy family, but each hotel offers something a little different. I've already touched on some of those differences between the pools and restaurants, but let me help you a little by summing things up. I'm going to start with the Swan Reserve. Please note that we did not stay here, and my observations are just that, observations. I chose not to stay at this location due to the, location. But the location might be what you like the most about this place. The Reserve is the newest of the 3 buildings, and it has its own transportation station and their own parking lot. All the hotels have their own parking lots, so keep that in mind when in or if you're using your own vehicle. Probably because it's across the street from the other 2, they gave them their own transportation pickup area. However, to get to the ferry and use the other resort facilities such as laundry, pools, restaurants, and fitness centers, you have to cross that street. The Swan Reserve has a conference center, ballroom, and is an ideal and beautiful location for special events. It's also more quiet, much more quiet. It has its own coffee bar, grounds. The Reserve also has Amar, the upscale Mediterranean restaurant, and they have 2 bars, Tangerine and Stir. If you enjoy miniature golf, you also will be glad to know that Disney's Fantasia is right in front of this resort. Disney Swan Reserve is better for people who want to be away from the main crowds but still have access to all the same amenities and enjoy a newer, more modern architectural vibe. The Swan and Dolphin are going to be a little harder to compare. If you look at the pricing, Swan is more expensive and is supposed to be more upscale. But this label was created many years ago when the 2 resorts were just opened and were competing against one another. Now that they're owned by the same corporation, there's less of a distinction, at least from my perspective. Both places offer excellent customer service, both have valet parking or self-parking, both have a business office for, business stuff, both have bellhops, both have a fitness center, both have pools, bars, restaurants, and both have their own convention centers. So what is the difference besides the price? Let's take a look at the rooms and see if there are any differences. We have booked a room in the Dolphin on 2 separate occasions. The first time we stayed at the Dolphin, we got a way better room than the second time. The first king room we stayed in was in the Dolphin. It had a walk-in shower with a sink on the outside of the room. The rooms have hand lotions, shampoo, shower gels, and conditioner. You also get face wipes and a bar of soap. There is a hand dryer, wall safe, and iron and board. If you look in the closet, you will find an extra towel and blanket. The king room also has a pull-out couch with a full-size bed. It was a little hard to pull out, but eventually I got it. We decided to keep our budget low and didn't ask for a balcony or room with outdoor access, but you can get these rooms if this is important to you. Make sure you ask about them. All the rooms, Dolphin, Swan, or Reserve, come with Dasani water, which is complimentary, and you can ask for more anytime you want. There is a refrigerator under the television. If you have a Netflix account, you can access your own account by following the directions on the television. It's super easy, but you will need to re-sign in each night. The Wi-Fi is actually fairly decent. For $5 a night, you can pay for the higher speed internet, but I think that's for people who bring their own gaming system or need high speed for conference calls. The free stuff is good enough for streaming videos and basic internet stuff. When we stayed at the Swan, we ended up with a room with a double queen bed. We wanted to get checked in quickly and weren't set on a king room, so we settled for whatever was available. If you need to get checked in early and they have rooms, they will get you checked in. We had our room by 10 a.m. This room had 2 sinks and a bathtub shower. My experience is that most places with a king bed have the walk-in style shower and the double beds have the tub. I'm not sure if this is the rule for all the rooms here as well, but that was what we experienced. The Swan is going through an overhaul as well, and they're having the room carpets removed. They were also doing repairs on the retaining walls and balconies, and you can see the fountains also being worked on. Unfortunately, we ended up with a room with a carpet still. Ugh. But the rooms were clean, and best of all, they are much more soundproof than any Disney resort we've ever stayed at. Our very last morning, we did experience a wake-up call in the form of construction, but it was almost 11 a.m. and we were warned about the possibility of it when we checked in. It didn't last long, and we were up and decided to start our day. Now, there's always going to be a downside to any hotel, and I'm going to lay it out for you. Let's start with the biggest issue. The Swan and Dolphin will nickel and dime your wallet to death. Let's start with the $40 a night resort fee. This is not an optional fee, and whether you use those amenities or not, you're paying for them. What I don't understand is why don't just put it in the cost of the hotel. It's very misleading when you look at pricing and they tack it on at the end. The other thing is the parking fee, which is $35 a night for self-parking, and it goes up there for valet parking. Even Disney gives you free self-parking for their resorts. And don't even bring up the cost of food and drinks. I get that you're in a resort area and can't expect much, but over $4 for a cup of soda? That's a little ridiculous for a hotel. Movie theater or theme park? I can see that, but a hotel? There are a lot of other things like that where you can get hidden fees and charges. For example, the handling fee when you want to have an item delivered to the resort. They actually have a fee chart for how much you are charged. Then there's the internet fee for high-speed internet, and the fees keep coming. Welcome to Disney World. The other issue with Swan and Dolphin is that they are large, very large, and somewhat difficult to navigate. If you have mobility issues, getting from one end of the resort to the other is not easy, and getting lost is somewhat of a badge of honor, as you will end up taking the wrong elevator or heading down the wrong corridor at some time. So if you're looking for quaint and small, this isn't the place for you. Now, there are ways to try and mitigate at least the cost of this resort. One is to look for discounts. They have deals for teachers, military, and government employees. Also, go during the off-season. The end of August or September are good times to consider going, if you can handle the Florida blistering heat. Between the discounts and picking the right time of the year to go, we ended up paying only $180 a night for a stay at the Swan this summer. Compare that to $500 a night to stay at the Disney Boardwalk or Yacht and Beach for the same time period and all the same basic accommodations. That's a steal. Also, use Amazon Fresh or Instacart to have things delivered to your room. Save money on soda, snacks, diapers, Tylenol, and or other items you might need and didn't want to pack and carry on the plane. If you go online, Swan and Dolphin will have their address for each hotel and directions for delivery. We used both services and were able to have our things left at the bellhop, and another time we met the delivery person at the front lobby. This is how you can avoid that extra handling fee that the resort can tack on. Do not send it to the business office. Unfortunately, unlike Disney resorts, Swan and Dolphin will not refrigerate. So if you need something cold, make sure you set up a delivery time you can meet the person and pick it up yourself. But if you can't be there for a delivery, clearly tell the delivery service to leave it at the bellhop and that it's groceries. Otherwise, your stuff might end up at the business center, and that's a hassle to deal with as well as expensive. To wrap up this rather long video, I will say this. Faults and all, I will happily go back to the Swan and Dolphin. I can honestly say that when we go back to Disney again, we will be perfectly happy at either the Swan or the Dolphin. Not the Reserve. Sorry, but the location is an issue for me. I will say that the Dolphin is going to be a better fit since it's closer to the laundry and most of the restaurants and the large pool. But the Swan is just as nice and has an easier layout to follow. The Swan and Dolphin has all the perks of the deluxe hotel and half the price. It's got a great location and there is quite a lot of amenities. Best of all, it's close to Disney. Thanks for watching this video, and please help our channel to continue to grow by clicking that like button and hit that subscribe button as well. Keep watching us on Bear Facts.